Okay.
Can I push your other button?
Nope. We are live. I don't even have I have my notes open. I meant to grab them, and then everything just fell apart. So let's start this again. What?
A friend is always welcome.
No, shush. Welcome, my friends, and welcome back to Krieg Dominion. I am Omar Krieg, your Lord and Commander of the Krieg Dominion. I sound like I have no energy because I just spent the last 10 minutes arguing about some really dumb stuff. I feel a little bit better now that I got that out of the chest. This is Rogue Trader, Tithes of Acheron, Segmentum 3rd, the Orks of Videmar. This is episode 2. And with me, of course, are my wonderful Grimdark players, Alturios, Warner, Darius, and Rev. We're going to take a moment, check in with them, see what's new and exciting, because it has been a couple of weeks since we last saw each other. Last week, unfortunately, what did I call it previously? The Adeptus Fedexicus got the better of me, and meaning I lost my fight with my job. Let's see, that implies I lost my job. No, I just lost the fight, and I had to work hard to get through the day.
Yeah, see, you've never actually mentioned the company that you worked for, so far as I know on stream before you've implied, but you have not specifically said, so...
You might be true, or that might be right. I may not have actually mentioned the Adeptus Fedexicus.
Right.
Which I think is hilarious, by the way.
I'd actually written some science fiction, some science fan fiction lore where FedEx actually is a spacefaring corporation.
I had done something similar once where Walmart was actually super active in as far as like the transportation logistical network for the expansion of humanity throughout the solar system. I'm just because I was picturing like the space version of Walmart trucks just flitting out in space all over the place. Darius, thanks for that resub, man. I appreciate that, brother. Currently on a 3-month streak. Amazing.
In my fiction, they were actually a conglomerate that ended up diversifying into colonialism, and then basically became their own sector of space. And so there's literally like a FedEx sector of space.
It's giving strong East India Company vibes.
Yeah, very. Their logo, their motto in my fiction became "We're from FedEx and we're here to help." And like, you know, as Reagan put it, it was the scariest thing that a lot of people had ever heard.
See, I always figured that if a giant corporate conglomerate went into like colonialism, it would be like a partnership between McDonald's and Coca-Cola. Because they are inescapable.
Darius is like, this is all fascinating, but I want to kill orcs now.
One could make the argument that a conglomerate between McDonald's and Coca-Cola would result in orcs.
I suppose that argument is true. All right, Darius, what's new and exciting for you, my friend? You have the energy of I must kill orcs.
Actually nothing new and exciting because I've just been out of it for like the last 3 days.
Ugh.
Sickness or other stuff? Or... Oh, wow. 2 of us.
Migraine.
Oh, man. Ugh. You have my deepest condolences, friend. May the darkness be your comfort at this time.
Well, if you'll notice, I don't have my light on this time.
I see that the only light in your room is coming from the monitor, and I'm surprised that it's as bright as it is.
Oh no, that's coming from my webcam. It's got one of those ring lights.
Oh, gotcha. Well, if you need to step away, we can certainly resolve things for the evening if we need to. Fortunately, I do not suffer from migraines, but I know all about the suffering that could potentially be the sufferance. You know what I
mean. No, I'll deal with it.
Okay.
Not to tell you things you've already tried, but what kind of remedies are you tackling it with?
Which one to start with?
It sounds like
for one thing, I've been staying in dark rooms. For another, I've been taking Neurontin, Tylenol, Excedrin, or I'm sorry, not Tylenol and Excedrin, but just Excedrin. Naproxen,
Ooh, naproxen.
and
I know what that is.
yeah, I
It's
believe
super Tylenol. Actually, I think it's super ibuprofen.
kind of. It's
It's an
more of a
NSAID.
long-term medicine, whereas Excedrin is more of an immediate.
Yeah, yeah,
So I kind of mix the two.
yeah. I've heard that can be helpful to some extent. The Tylenol, like the Tylenol ibuprofen cocktail, for lack of a better word, can be helpful. But
I do Excedrin,
I'm not a
and
doctor.
Mhm.
yeah.
That was for the viewers, not for you.
As long as
I'm
you're
not a
mixing
doctor
the
either.
NSAIDs.
There's a certain amount of NSAIDs that you can take at once that is not going to be dangerous. And you know how the bottles say take only one dose every 6 hours?
Mm-hmm.
I do it more like once every 24 hours.
Yeah.
Well, some of those like don't take more than this is set to like them. They take a lower than average body weight so that they don't have like smaller adults. So
Yes, it's
it's
the
it's
cover
hard to
your
tell.
butt.
It's hard to. I mean, I don't know what your height is or your size is, but if you're larger than average, you can afford to take a little more.
But again, none of us are medical practitioners, so
I
please
mean, I
do
did
not
get
take
that.
this as your advice.
That was advice I was given, and I was trying to say it verbatim from what I was given from a doctor. So
No, and that's fair. I just don't want somebody out there to be like, Omar's Cruz and I could do this, and now I have no arm. Like, sorry, brother,
Yes.
I can't help you. I tried to warn you. None of us are practitioners. Well,
so is it like
I-
all over,
I-
or is it behind the eyes, or I'm just trying to.
Out there.
ooh.
Okay.
Side of the head.
You might have heard this, but
It's a cluster migraine.
have you tried ice packs? Because sometimes when I get the really bad
I
headaches like
can't
that-
deal with cold.
Okay, I'm not trying to tell you how to. I'm just like
No,
I
it's
think everything
fine.
is
I can't deal with cold.
okay.
It's part of my fibromyalgia.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a whole nother beast right there. Because that's the one where the nerves
Yeah.
are like on fire or something, right? Not fire,
All
but
the time.
like yeah, the nerves are like super activated. That's a bitch
And
and a half too.
they think what it is the ends of the nerves inside the bloodstream, the veins.
Mm-hmm.
They think that those are inflamed.
Gotcha.
The only
And
other thing.
so with the blood continually circulating,
Yeah.
it's constantly inflamed.
Yep.
I don't know what other medications you're on and whatever else, but like the only other things I can think of from what I know of is look at like B2, magnesium, and caffeine.
I was about to say tea.
Caffeine is in Excedrin,
Yeah, there's usually
and I
caffeine.
drink lots of tea.
There's usually caffeine in a lot of medication because it helps the body metabolize it quickly, so
Yeah,
that you
like,
get that quick
That's
relief.
that's Tylenol Sinus, for example, has that as one of their
Yeah.
ingredients in it. But
Stimulants.
Just mainline that shit, man. Let's go. Alterios! And now that I've made stupid comments, what's new and exciting for you, mister?
Not much. Just dealing with my summer class.
Yeah, how's it going?
Oh, it's
It sounds like it's going swimmingly.
it's called systems design and analysis, and it's a business class, and I don't like business stuff.
What is it you're going for? Or are you going? You're going for something in the IT world or something like that, right?
Computer science and programming.
In which case, your systems design course will be important.
Yeah, I could see.
I
can
know,
definitely
but my
see
brain doesn't think in business.
that. My brain no businessy.
I don't think in Gantt charts and rapid development. Just give me the shit you want, and I'll make code to make it run.
And then charge you for it.
Yeah.
Or you just pay me a flat rate every week.
As a Scrum Master and Project Manager, I get paid to think about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I have seen more Gantt charts than I care to.
I don't even know, and I'm scared to ask, so I won't.
Well, you see, Omar.
It's just
No, stop. I don't want to know. I've already got enough shit. Listen, do you know how
it's
much?
just some way to plan out
a
and visualize projects. That's all.
There is a metric fuck ton of stuff inside a 1/2 metric fuck ton volume unit. And I'm trying to cram a bunch of Vampire Dark Ages shit in there because somebody who may or may not be in this call asked me, hey, could you maybe do a vampire game? And I said, I'll look into it. And the more I looked into it, I was like, this is a great idea. And then I hit full capacity. So, yeah.
So have you ever seen anybody who's like mixing music where they've got the different tracks for the different things?
I have seen clips of DJs from rap videos. That sounds really stupid, but...
Okay, so you know how they'll have different lines for different instruments and different tones cutting in?
Yeah, I mean, I've also seen,
So
like...
basically a Gantt chart is like that, but instead of different tones, it's different activities and different dates.
Yeah,
And
I've also
they're trying
seen,
to cram
like,
everything.
different... I don't know how to explain
as somebody who looks at them more than I do, Warner, did I do a decent job of describing what a Gantt chart is?
It's not bad. I've heard much less coherent descriptions.
Probably also from somebody who may or may not be in this group. Warner, what's new and exciting for you, my friend?
Well, just downloaded the demo for a game called Mecharashi yesterday and started playing that a little bit, and I've had a lot of fun with it.
That sounds weeby.
It's very much
sort
a
of
mecha
is.
game. It's from what I've seen of it. It looks really good. From the at least
Mecharashi is a mecha game?
shocker. I know.
Who would
What?
have guessed?
I know.
But yeah, there's some weebiness to it.
battle mix.
Battlefield technology? Who would have thought?
I was
Sorry.
explaining to Alturios and Omar a little bit. The short version of the story is that Square Enix a while ago was like, let's make another Front Mission game, and they hired a team to start developing it. And then they said, actually, no, we're not going to pursue this. And the
That's
team who
Squeenix.
was developing
Sorry.
it said, but we've got this much, so we're going to keep going with it, and we'll just file the serial numbers off. And Squeenix was like, those serial numbers are still legible. We're going to need some ceasing and some desisting from you. And the court case got settled, and now I've got the demo to play. So it's a tactical, turn-based mecha game, heavily reminiscent of a Front Mission style game.
Now, what is a Front Mission style game? Because I don't know what that means in a way that I understand.
Turn-based tactics.
Yeah.
It's BattleTech if it was done in anime.
Oh, so my allusion to it being so similar to Harebrained
should be
Schemes.
Slightly simplified from the HBS
Okay.
BattleTech.
Gotcha.
But HBS BattleTech is slightly simplified from BattleTech. So
It is.
Correct.
It is.
when I said it's like BattleTech but anime, I meant the HBS BattleTech.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what I assumed was HBS with an anime skin.
And
Yeah, you think you're gonna teach fucking video gamers about Gator? I don't think so.
I have.
Ugh.
Oh. All right.
That's them things in the water down in Louisiana
Yeah,
and Florida.
and sometimes they come up on land snapping at people.
I was watching a video the other day, and this woman was like, "You want to know how you know there's alligators in this here water in Louisiana?" And she pointed at a darker pool of water, and she ran her fingers through it, and she said, "It's wet, so it's got gators in it."
That sounds about accurate. All right, let's play some more Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, whatever it is we're doing. I don't know what game this is anymore. I've done lost
Did
track
you
of
Forgot
this.
what we're
remember?
doing.
Did you remember to hit the record button?
I did. This whole thing's
Okay.
been recorded. Previously on Tithes
Nobody
of
asked me how my
Acheron.
week was going.
Gators are green, and so are orcs.
Yes, they are. Having met with the Oracle of the Void, who some call the Hildemas Oracle, while others refer to him as a pile of non-answers, our explorers have left the throne world of the Van Breeze domain for Videmar. Arriving in short order, they were accosted by, you guessed it, orcs. But they were quickly made into so much space
Orcs.
debris and dead orcs in space. And with that challenge behind them, the explorers now turn towards the planet itself. I am going to take a moment. I recall going through this information previously, but I'm going to reiterate it because it's been a couple of weeks and just to kind of give everybody a reminder of where we are in space.
Hey, Omar,
Yes.
you didn't ask me how my week went, or if there was anything new.
You started on some tangent, I don't even remember, and I don't want to regurgitate it. And so I just kind of moved on.
You never asked me, though.
The long and the short of it is, you are unimportant. So saith the Omar.
So say we all. So say we all. Okay, now that I have my Battlestar Galactica fix.
I'm taking my command crew and I'm going home.
Well, that leaves us with everybody else on the table. Who can still keep playing. So, the Videmar star itself is an odd star casting a purplish light instead of the red-orange its size, mass, and other indicators would otherwise specify. No known association with the warp or other malevolence is known, outside of course, the fact that there are orcs here. The inner cauldron consists of two worlds, Furio and Infernus. Both worlds are far too hot to be able to settle, though each may later be explored to determine suitability of investment. The primary biosphere consists of two worlds, Videmar Primus and Videmar Secundus, as well as some asteroid clusters and the Vetus asteroid belt. Videmar Primus, the main world that you're headed to, large world, normal gravity, no moons or satellites, moderate, pure atmosphere, essentially standard atmosphere. The world has a limited ecosystem, one that appears to have suffered a natural disaster, is on the verge of recovery. Mineral resources include a nearly exhausted radioactive resource and a limited source of industrial metals. Both require the orc threat to be removed before exploitation can begin or resume.
I like exploitation.
Yes. Nope, that would not be a good joke to make in the current day. Segundus.
Resource exploitation. What did you think I was talking about?
We're not going there. Videmar Segundus is a large, dense world, normal gravity, no satellites, a thin, pure atmosphere requiring some rebreather assistant breathing apparatus. It is a cold world, being on the distant side from the local sun, and thus having a limited ecosystem that is not fully capitalized on the local conditions in order to thrive. There are a number of resources available here, but they have yet to be fully detailed, mostly because the local orc threat has not been completely wiped out. There is a suspected but otherwise unknown Xenos ruins on the surface of Videmar Secundus. The outer reach of the solar system contains two gas giants and an unexplored ice world. Both gas giants contain a number of dust rings and moons. Are we doing anything in orbit before we head down to the planet? Or are we going to go ahead and head straight down to the planet? I leave this up to you.
Scans.
What'd you say?
Scans of the
Scans
planet.
can absolutely be done. You do have a new seneschal who's been kind of flitting around in the background.
I mean, he would have been front and center during the space combat, but
Oh yeah, absolutely, doing whatever duties he was told to do. But otherwise, he's been busy doing things behind the scenes because nobody has actually contacted him, and I forgot to tell him that he was there.
well, no, we knew he was there. You just said you needed to wait and actually make him as a character.
Yeah, well, I have the character sheet now. I think I did that in preparation for last week, and then last week didn't happen because Adeptus Fidexicus.
Right. Well, regardless, I was actually planning on having a talk with my my tech priests, my engine seer.
Oh, that's Alterios.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I was going to ask him if it would be possible to rig some of the boarding pods into drop pods, not for us, but to basically fill them with as many fireworks and speakers emitting the sounds of battle. What I basically want to do is I want to potentially near
Orc
wherever
nip.
we find the orc, drop some of these and see if we can't deal and essentially split up the orc force. Some to go after the decoy, and us deal with some before we have to deal with the ones that were dumb enough to run after the fake battle.
gonna
Some
check with that.
orcs is too crafty for that, but not all of them.
Well, I suppose it would be a matter of modifying the drop pods, so I would have thought it would have been a tech use check of some kind, but that's up to Omar.
I'm curious what
So I was asking.
Icarus has to say first.
I mean, sounds like a dumb idea, but if you want
Yeah,
to do it, I'll do
let's
it.
just imagine that standing next to Icarus is like a senior, subordinate to Icarus, but like a senior engineer crafter type. Like his job is working in the oh god, help me out here. I'm totally failing. Like in a spaceship or a normal sleep
Oh.
ship, they have like a workshop where they make fabrication. That's the word I'm looking for. So whatever the 40K tech priest fabricator Mastiff, nope, not Mastiff, Magnus, nope, probably not that. Magus Fabricatus.
Magos.
Well, I don't want to be a Magos because that probably outranks Icarus. Oh, Chief Fabricator. There we go. Your Chief Fabricator is standing next to you, Icarus, as this conversation is thrust upon us.
To reiterate what I'm wanting is I'm wanting a series of drop pods that essentially simulate like a battle, potentially like over the hill, over the horizon. And if our forces are engaged in Sector A, drop it in neighboring Sector B, so that it potentially splits off a portion of the orc forces to deal with separately, divide and conquer. And as we know, orcs are drawn to both things falling from the sky and the sounds of battle.
The Chief Fabricator looks to his Engineer Prime.
Mm-hmm.
Is
And then
Reinhardt in
squeals.
the vicinity of this?
That's not a question I can answer.
Well, how often do you accompany me as my bodyguard around the ship?
Everywhere. I followed him into the bathroom.
Mostly when called for.
Sorry.
Off ship, I would think I'm closer to your shadow, but on ship, probably more.
When deployed, the shadow was jealous of Reinhardt.
I don't know that I specifically would have called you in on this.
Okay. Fair enough.
The Chief
But if you
Fabricator
would like
looks
to
at
be there, I don't see why you couldn't.
Chief Fabricator looks at Alturios, and then when Alturios gives the look back, there's a blast in Binaric. The short version is, if we could do this, it may take a few days. How many pods does the Lord Captain want?
How many do we have? No. But basically, it's going to take us several days of sublight transit to get there anyway.
I think by the time we have this conversation, especially since I'm assuming this is after the orc fight.
This basically would have been one of the first things I would have been addressing immediately after the orc fight.
After coming out of warp.
Well,
yeah.
The orc debris is slowly cooling off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, we're going to be fighting orcs on the surface.
In that case,
let's
I would
create
be
some
with you.
countermeasures. Okay.
Yeah, and you've got probably, at this point, you've probably got just a few days left before you hit the planet's orbit. Because I imagine it took a few days to get into the system, and then, or not in, but like deeper. And then once you got close enough, that's when you encountered them. I think there's another blast at Benaric. I'm probably saying that wrong, but just imagine like super high speed 1980s modem sounds.
Super high speed and 1980s modems don't really go together.
Yes, I realize that. That's why you have. Never mind.
It's all relative, man. Come on.
Yeah. Besides, the amount of data being transferred in each
I was gonna
blast
say,
that
that
lasts
might be a
half a second.
56K, man. Don't make fun of it.
It's just a basic handshake. It's not even much data being transferred.
Actually, when you speak in binaric, you could fucking dump a massive amount of
When
data.
you speak in binaric, yes, but when you said imagine a 1980s.
Yes, I realize. I know what I said.
Yeah, but unless you can speak binaric, that's probably doesn't sound like much, but
It's probably like a quick squeal.
I
The oh, sorry, go ahead.
Lord Captain, I think that I hear the grinding of the sacral gears and consecrated cogs.
There's another brief binaric blast and a gesture towards Reinhardt. This one gets it. The short answer you get, by the way, is that something like 3 to 5 of these individual drop pods can be manufactured in the time it would take to get to the planet from now, if they were to start right away.
Well, if it can draw off even a small portion of the orcs, the less we have to deal with it once, the better.
I think Reinhardt was getting ready to say something. And
I
kind of stepped
I
over
will
him.
smile a wistful smile at Icarus and say, Mein Freund, I assure you that though it makes no sense, that is why it will work with the orcs, because they make no sense. I have long experience of this.
As one who doesn't hold steady to his accent, I believe your Reinhardt has gone from loyal German soldier to slightly mad scientist.
I mean, at the moment, Mad
Yes,
Scientist is definitely more apropos than it was.
Mad science and friendly drinking companion. You know, as long as the science has to do with mine gun.
the gun is a very scientific instrument.
What I'm hearing with your current
Requires
accent,
precision.
it's a reference to a parody of a TV show that you may or may not get. But what I'm hearing with your current accent is und wie, and if you don't get the
We'll
reference
have
from
war.
yes,
I don't know that one, actually.
Watch Helsing Abridged.
Well, that might be why.
it is.
At any rate,
it is a very interesting abridged series.
At any rate, 3 to 5 pods in the next few days, completed by the time you achieve orbit over the planet. And then another
Second
blast
verse
of
is same as the first. Now put me on a plane so I can put him on a horse.
another binaric blast of if there is nothing else, I can get started on this task immediately. And that was to Icarus, the Engineer Prime. Not to the Lord Captain, the captain of the ship.
Requirements efficiency equals 1.
Agreed. Disappearing equals 1. I don't know if he would have said disappearing in this context, of course, means that he's departing. And there's a brief curt nod for both of you, the Engineer Prime and the Lord Captain. And then swaying red robes as he wanders off.
I will say this much for them. The tech priests have swagger.
Listen, when you've got the faith of a god behind you and all the knowledge of technology at your
I
power,
was trying to think of another way to say tech priest got a booty like pal. The way you were describing his robes.
his sashaying robes.
Yes.
Tech priest sufficiently thick equals 1.
Thick with multiple C's.
Yes.
C++ actually.
I believe it's C sharp.
Ooh, C sharp. Sharp for the wit. Anyway. Yeah. That's all I got. I don't know. You guys got anything else? Or shall we go ahead and see what's going on the planet?
Ahaha, see what's going on?
Yeah. Also, if you hear my cat, ignore him. He's yelling at my brother, at my son because his door's closed.
Okay. I can't hear him.
You probably won't because it's pretty quiet, but I can fucking hear the little shit.
He says, "Hey, you, open the door so that I can scratch the hell of you out of you as per protocol."
Yeah. Stitchy. Stitch. Come here. Shall we descend? Or arrive, rather?
Scans
Sure.
of the planet.
What would you like to scan for?
I was like, who's scanning?
I guess I would be, since you guys are all busy.
I mean, we've got 2 additional days of travel time before you achieve orbit.
And
Scanning
it's
can take place.
if I'm not mistaken, it's a perception scrutiny thing. for
Sounds
the
right.
scanners.
Which I have. Pretty decently, too, if I recall correctly. Yep, I've got a plus 10% with a perception of 51.
Okay.
So
What are you scanning
Nice.
for? What do you want to know?
I want to know where the orcs are, how
Okay.
many there are.
Okay.
Are there any other ships around?
Go ahead and make a roll. Let's see what kind of information you get. Stick, shut up.
Talk to your son like that.
That's not my son.
Shut up.
What was your target number?
61.
Would you like to fate point that on the first roll of the night?
Yep.
Much better.
There we
5
go.
degrees
Yeah.
of success. All right. So you easily pick up. First off, there is nothing else in space around you other than astronomical bodies like planets, moons, dust clouds, etc., etc., etc. Actually, in this system, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of moons unless they floating around the fucking gas giants. But
Don't forget that debris field.
yes, there's obviously the debris field.
2 of them.
Yeah. On the planet of Videmar Primus, you pick up the primary settlement that you're expecting to be there, the human one, obviously, and a couple of some smaller settlements nearby. You're also picking up what could only be described as human settlements, graffitied, ransacked, and orcified. Not far off of those settlements. It is difficult at this distance to get a count of how many orcs there are, but there are what appears to be a... Oh my god. That you guys heard.
No, I didn't actually.
You didn't? Really?
No.
Well,
Also,
no, don't. Please don't. My kid came out of his room and meowed super loud right back at the cat.
oh,
At any rate, the number of orc settlements is roughly equal to the number of human settlements, it appears to be, based on the information you can find, or what you're interpreting from the scan data. No, come on.
You want loves.
What else did you want? That was it, right? Just trying to figure out where the orcs are, how many there are, and if there's anything else in space.
how many of them appear to be orbitally bombardable?
The problem with the orbital
Yeah,
bombardment...
I am trying to get a strategic layout of the thing.
I think maybe you're in a conference with the Lord Commander, or excuse me, Lord Captain, and maybe you are the ship's guns guy, but I think one of the things that you will note is that while orbital bombardment is a possibility, the the margin of error is pretty narrow. If you miss one of the orc settlements, it's very easy to hit a human settlement.
Hmm.
That said, you could still attempt it, but also
We're shooting very, very large laser cannons from orbit to a planet's surface. How do you miss with those? Like, I mean, I get how you could be off in space with maneuvering targets, but if you're aiming at essentially what is a fixed point on the ground,
yeah,
it's not like you're going to have gravitational variance or other factors affecting shells. We're literally talking about an energy beam.
yes, I hear you.
I mean, you're still moving at orbital speeds.
Yeah, everything moves. But more importantly, what it also is looking like is while orbital bombardment is certainly an option, there are indicators of subterranean networks. Whereas, meaning in short, that the orcs could just hide or be hiding. And that orbital bombardment may not necessarily be as effective overall as you anticipate or expect.
Well, I will be laying out a plan for while we're on the ground. If there is a separate, essentially a separate sector for the ship to be laying waste to whatever Orky structures it can.
Yeah. I figured. I had a feeling you were going to be sitting there with the easy button, and right next to it, in masking tape written on it, would be orbital bombardment. I'm going to kill this cat. I'm not literally going to kill this cat, but my son's gone back in his room, so guess what my cat's doing?
I can recommend some methods if you'd like.
I have a spray bottle, but that only works.
That doesn't really kill cats, though.
No,
Burlap bags and rivers.
Holy shit, that got dark. Persephone, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it.
You have a wood chipper?
Oh my
It's okay,
god.
Persephone, they're not going to get to you.
How large is your garbage disposal?
Oh my god, guys, come on.
Look, I
Nick,
have no
enough.
problem with cats as long as they stay in the road where they belong.
Okay, I'm gonna go AFK. I've got to distract this cat. I'll be back in just a moment.
Do you have some gas logs, or is it just a wood fireplace?
It's a wood fireplace. And no, I'm not burning my cat. I'm gonna go AFK. Talk amongst yourselves about how to deal with the orc problem and not the cat problem.
Well, you know what they say about more than one way to skin a cat?
Not true. I mean, what are you going to do? Put a hose up the cat's butt and wait until it inflates so much it skins itself?
That supposedly does work. Air pressure is a heck of a way to remove a skin from an animal.
So,
You could drown it in an ammonia tub.
So what are we doing about these orcs?
I hear that
I thought we were
orcs
killing
are
cats.
fungal,
Yes.
and fungus grows best when it is kept in the dark and fed on shit. So it stands to reason by the transitive property, or is it the commutative property? I forget. That the way we would get rid of them is to remove all the shit and shine a bright light on them.
Well, I think a laser beam would be quite bright.
I
If-
like your thinking.
if only we had a priest with a flamer right about now.
Okay, we'll see how long that lasts. What did I miss?
What was that about?
We were discussing skinning cats.
What? No.
And the transitive and or commutative property.
Of cats.
You were supposed to be talking about orcs.
The transitive and or commutative property was about orcs.
I just said and of cats to mess with them.
I don't even know what transitive could be, whatever the hell. Substantive, whatever.
They're mathematical terms.
Yes, I realize that. It's outside my math wheelhouse. My math wheelhouse is about yay big.
The transitive property states that if A equals B and B equals C, then it follows that A equals C.
Well, there also is the fact that with their latent psychic nature, orcs have a transubstantiative nature in and of themselves as well.
Are you guys trying to give me a migraine?
Oh, I was ignoring them when they started talking math.
Yeah, this is too deep math for me. I know. This is that deep dark math. I'm not ready for that. Let's do
It is
this.
the commutative property.
Your ship is in orbit, and you're
that I was
receiving
thinking of.
a communication signal from the ground.
And actually, transubstantial is actually not the same thing as what he was talking about. It's
That's
more of a-
theological.
I
yes.
will answer the signal from the ground.
Thank you. This is Videmar ground to whoever is in orbit that has destroyed the orcs.
This is ground
I had to
control to
I almost did
Major
it. I almost
Tom.
did it. I had to stop myself.
You really made the grade.
Oh God! You know, eventually we're gonna actually be able to roleplay tonight.
I was gonna say, if we haven't gotten this entire video
So-
demonetized,
Yeah. Is anybody up there, or did you just gonna sit in
I am-
orbit?
Yes, I am the Lord Commander, Rogue Trader Borgadillo von Breeze Gisbeth III. Recipient of the Drusian Star, savior of I forget. I don't have my list in front
I'm
of me.
imagining him saying that in character. I forget the rest of my accolades.
I need my list.
Bring me the list. And I receive the list and I proceed to read everything on it.
Oh my God! Now we just became an '80s animated show for
the
Saturday
connection times out, and we have to call him again.
night. Yeah, right.
Wait, did I disconnect? Am I still there?
Lord Captain, I am Carl von Mark. I am the acting governor substitute. We would be more than happy to receive you on the planet's surface, my lord.
What is the current status of the ground forces on the planet?
Depleted, my lord. A better
Dead.
briefing can be provided in person.
Excellent. So we're proceeding to the surface. I'm saying hold the pods and the bombardment, but my plan is to drop the pods in an area where we're not going to be operating, where there's potentially orc activity or nearby orc activity, to draw orcs away, and then use the orbital lasers to basically smoke the whole area.
Okay.
And maybe. So I'm telling that to the crew, not to the
Yeah,
first step.
yeah, because I
Smoke
imagine
the area. Don't you mean vaporize the area?
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right. Who are you
of
bringing with
course,
you to
Lord
the ground?
Captain.
Sorry, what?
Who are you bringing with you to the ground?
Who am I? I mean, like, I'm obviously I'm bringing the command crew
Yes.
and the squads.
Okay. How many squads are you bringing?
With me initially, to potentially secure the area. All of the ones that we have that we've trained.
So the one platoon of like 4 or 5 squads or whatever it
Well,
was.
we have yeah, but like I don't know how many of those we're actually going to take into whatever deep strike operation we plan for later.
Okay. All right. Let me pull up my notes and see what happens once you arrive on the surface.
But if they have no ground forces to speak of, I don't know how many orcs we're dealing with, and I'm not bringing anything short of the full complement.
Yes. You arrive. Surprisingly, there is no orc interference on your descent. You've got a...
Shoot, are these some of those people that made a treaty with the orcs and the orcs are...
Let me get there.
I'm picturing a Star Wars Vader moment.
This kind of, yeah, Vader and Luke in Return of the Jedi. Yeah, no. What you get is something similar to the Owlcat Rogue Trader, like the shuttles coming down to land in the very beginning of the game, or near the beginning of the game. You know what I'm talking about. You guys come down out on a landing field, graded metal decking is a handful of troopers with a single individual man wearing body armor, helmet. He has a cape, and as you eventually get closer, you'll see he has a sidearm.
This is great, but how much cheese can it accommodate?
Well, it goes about 300 meters in any particular direction, so I would imagine quite a bit. I mean, it's a landing field for orbital class ships, so.
You said
At
it was
any
great.
rate,
Yes.
there you go. You happy now? I made a button too.
Yes.
Carl von Mark, my lord, as you ordered. I apologize. I don't know the protocol. And he takes a knee, and most of his security element take a knee behind him as well. There's a few that don't, but only because they continue to scan the horizon. I want to paint the picture that you guys are in I want you to imagine a rolling hills sort of terrain and not a lot of trees. For about as far as the eye can see. And then off in the general direction of, let's say, the east is a number of buildings that look like they've been here for quite a while. Like, and when I say quite a while, I mean like 10 or 20 years. So they're not prefab, so they're like pretty solidly built, whatnot. But they are definitely, in a easy way to explain it, they're not necessarily made with native materials. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. I apologize.
So are we talking just like civilian buildings, or are we talking like?
Yeah, these are not military grade reinforced. They're basically, I want you to picture something closer to like habitation pod sort of settlement kind of thing, but there's a lot of them.
So,
They've been here for a while.
Upgraded prefabs.
Yeah. Upgraded prefabs.
Modified, added to, repaired on.
Yeah.
Redneck engineered.
That is certainly a way to, yes, we'll categorize it as such.
I did see someone literally brick around a mobile home and make it look like a regular house.
How much of the repair materials are orc-ish?
Here, none.
Okay.
Like, none, there is no, like, visually, there's no orc indicator. There are a number of buildings that have, like, blast damage and blast markings and bullet holes and things of that nature, but the stuff that's been repaired, replaced, it's all, as best as you could tell from an initial scanning, looking at it, whatever, it's all human manufactured.
Okay, I was just wondering if, like, in sort of a slapdash job, they like picked up a orcish armor plate and slapped it on top of their head block.
No, but
So-
it may have looked like it was initially, and then later, after a second pass, you're like, all right, get that orc shit out of there, and let's go ahead and put some real shit up. You know, because sometimes you do what you got to do to weather the storm, and then once the storm's done, you go out and you fix everything and make it look better.
Yeah.
Yep.
So tell me, Governor, acting governor.
Acting governor substitute, my lord. The actual governor. Hold on, where's it? Tarson Vanderby, our actual acting governor, is somewhere, and he does a very like wide arm gesture out that way. He's currently missing, my lord. I can't get the accent back. Sorry. He's currently missing, my lord. Nope, that's not it. I am the garrison commander here, and I am the only one of sufficient rank and standing to be considered anything close. I have totally lost this accent. Anything close to the leadership here.
Yes, well, if you were the surviving commander,
I am.
and the forces are greatly depleted,
They are.
and the orcs are all about,
Sadly, they are.
how are you still alive?
Fear, temerity, and lack of giving up, my lord. If you would come with this way, I could give you something of a more appropriate briefing. We have a briefing room set up with refreshments.
I believe this situation calls for a lack of refreshments, but please, let us get down to business.
When he says refresh, I want you to understand. As you go into the briefing
There
room,
are military rations and bottles of water.
yeah, it's literally bottled water. That's all it is. He's done the best he can. This guy's fucking trying. I want you to understand, whether or not you like it, like, this is a dude completely out of his fucking skill set and doing the absolute best he can.
I was aware of what he would consider refreshments.
Yeah.
And I look askance at the bottled water as I sip from my
Yeah,
flask.
your bejeweled flask.
Now bear in mind it's not alcohol in my jeweled flask because I'm here for combat.
Yeah.
This is just like glacier
You're
water.
showing
that
off, you're showing off that you have a lot more money and wealth and reach than this guy ever could imagine. Yeah, no, I got you. When you enter this room, and if you give me a moment, hopefully it'll show up for everybody.
You know, there's a saying: if you can't fight them drunk, don't fight them at all.
All right, and then it.
The alcohol's a different flask. The golden bejeweled flask is hydration. The silver bejeweled flask is inebriation.
Let's do. Give me a moment. I will explain everything. Just bear with me.
Bears.
No, orcs. Orc with.
I'm
Duh,
getting a lot of
bears.
errors.
I wish I could give you a good answer. Unfortunately, I just
I
don't
see
have one.
freebooters.
I see blank plain unpainted freebooters.
Well, let me see if I can reconnect.
I do see a lot of errors on the side, but
I unfortunately it's. I wish I knew what the fix was for this because I know it doesn't look great for you guys.
how come the armsmen look like they're equipped with
These aren't your armsmen. Actually, they might be, but that's not
how
important right now.
how come the armsmen look like they're equipped with relic gear?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Because they're cool.
I really don't know. Listen, this is some of the models I found at some point, somewhere. And I started using them, and I saved them.
How come the orc models don't have paint on them?
On my screen, they absolutely do.
Rev, I believe those are the current models from GW.
I know that. I'm just giving him a hard time.
All right,
Uh-huh.
Wait, orcs are white now?
stop it.
Fucking
No,
crackers.
according to Wizards of the Coast, they're Mexicans.
What? No, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. All right.
Just a little
Sure, I
racism
thought
is a
that they
treat,
were soccer
please.
hooligans.
A lot of the information I'm going to provide you will be out of character, but I want you to imagine that Karl von Marek is attempting to give you the best possible situation brief that he can using a holographic table and some miniatures that he can use to move around. So what you see before you is more or less a regional map of this planet. These are the known settlements that are still in functioning existence. You will note that in short, there is one, let's call it boss settlement for each of the two factions here, the humans and the orcs. And then there are 3 what could be considered frontline settlements. And then a bunch of purple lines that indicate roads, trails, networks of means by which you can approach from one settlement to the next. Effectively, in order to complete this Segmentum, you will need to defeat all of the orcs. And the way that will be done is in an abstract manner using some rules not entirely dissimilar from combat in this and some other ad hoc shit that I'm going to come up with as time goes to keep things from being overly repetitive, boring, and dull. The yellow marks are human settlements. The green marks are orc settlements. Each settlement connected to another settlement by a purple line indicates you can move from one settlement to the next in a single turn. And a single turn is 1 week of not real time for us, but in universe time. So in other words, to move from this sector to this sector would be 1 week's worth of time, as well as any fighting that would have to take place. To win, you have to conquer all of the enemy locations before they conquer all of yours. Conquering is basically moving your units from one location to another. There's a fight. Whoever wins holds the ground. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
You want to do orbital bombardment. That's awesome. We will work that into the narrative. It does not change the abstract part of the fight that has to take place. It may change some of the numbers involved depending on results of the let's call it airstrikes. It's not airstrikes. You know what I'm trying to say. The orbital strikes. So in other words, if they were supposed to face 30 orcs in a given location and the orbital strike is successful, then you instead of facing 30, maybe you'll face 20. Because this is an abstract system, some of those numbers are kind of set the way they are, regardless of how the orbital strike works. So I'm trying to figure out a couple of different ways to keep things interesting, because otherwise we could end up having, players fighting orcs, player characters versus NPC characters many, many times before we finally complete this.
Orcs, 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 orcs.
Ideally, what I foresee happening is something like this. You guys moving up your forces, and then your forces winning, and then once that happens, those forces can keep moving up and keep winning, and eventually make it to this guy here. Oops. To this guy back here, because that's obviously where the boss man's going to be. Does that make sense so far? Any questions?
No. I'm pretty good.
Okay. Now, as a further layer of complexity, as you guys get to do things, so do the orcs. So whenever
Yep.
you move a unit and fight, they get the opportunity to make a movement and fight as well. So just because you move a unit, and that's part of the reason why the lines are there, to show movement options. So if you leave an area undefended, it's possible that an orc unit could come in and reclaim it, and that obviously defeats the purpose of what you just accomplished previously. Any questions so far? Anybody? Alturios, Warner, Darius?
Yeah, how are our personal units, the squads, being represented?
So for right now, I put these models on the table just to kind of show you what my intent is. How your player characters integrate into the squads, that will be up to you guys. In order for a squad to be considered a squad, you have to have at least 10 people in it. Now, those 10 people don't have to be all 10 player characters or whatever. In fact, you don't even have to have a player character in that squad.
Right.
So effectively, you have the minimum number for a squad. There is theoretically no maximum number of people in a squad.
Right. So I have a question first. What we're looking on the table right now is representing the forces already on the planet.
Yes.
Okay.
So one thing that Carl is also telling you is that with his depleted units, if he was supposed to have 1,000, he's down to like 100, and they are barely holding on. As previously indicated, such as that message that the freighter sent, whatever it was, that the military here is holding, but it does not have the capability of counterattacking and won't last long in its current situation. So
Stay on target.
that's really what they're doing. Like, they have been able to hold, but they can't do anything else, and eventually they're just going to lose. Which is why you guys will need to be, and this is what Carl is also indicating or implying, is that he kind of needs you guys to be the hammer while he continues to play the shield.
Okay. So I'm
sorry, go ahead.
The answer here is simple. Their forces are too stretched out trying to defend too many points. Take the backline forces, double up all the forces on the front. While we are going to completely ignore the frontline situation, we're going to deep strike and go directly for the area we know the boss to be.
Okay. Again,
we have shuttles, we have ships. They don't. We don't have to use roads.
That's true. You'll still have to play out the battles on the front.
Okay.
Now, those will be done in an abstract manner, to be clear. And I haven't quite figured out exactly how I want to do it, but I have an idea that I can shoot at you guys here shortly.
But what I'm saying is I don't want to leave any backline forces. In order for this to work, I essentially want, I don't know if I can move any of these.
You should be able to pick them up and move them.
I am trying, and I'm getting a click and drag box.
That's weird.
They're locked.
They're not locked. That's the weird part.
They're not locked for you.
No, and I don't know. I don't remember ever putting any sort of permission thing in. Because I've
got the grab hand on, and all I'm doing is getting.
Let me try something real quick.
They are perma-locked. I cannot unlock them.
Rev, try it real quick.
Nope.
You still can't. How the hell did that happen? That might be part of the reason why you guys can't see some of the art on them or whatever. But I don't even know
Could
how.
you promote me real quick?
I just promoted Rev and he wasn't able to do anything. So I don't know if. I mean, you have more TTS knowledge than most of us, but
Oh, you're not using the table with drawers anymore. Oh.
nobody can grab any of these guys.
Looks like Alturios is.
Well, no, that's always been there. You guys should have been able to move those all the time. But
Oh.
the newer objects, which I'm still super surprised that you can't touch. What's this? Oh, hold on. How about now? Try this one here, because this is the only one I selected.
Which one?
This
The
one?
back one? I cannot move any of
Still?
them.
This is really weird. Okay. Well, these are here for, at the moment anyway, for I can't think of the word I want
I
to
wonder
use.
if I can flick. I cannot.
They're here for suggested or God, I can't even think of the word I want to use, but they're here for representation purposes.
So this, essentially what I would be saying
Mm-hmm.
is take the rear line and deploy those 3 units and double up on the front lines in order to hold the integrity of the front lines, especially since redundancy won't be needed since we're going to solve this relatively quickly.
The Department of Redundancy Department.
All right, University.
No.
The University of Maryland
Uh,
University College would like to speak with you. This
Did-
back unit here, in one single turn, can only go either here or here. In a single turn.
This one here that just came from here.
Correct.
We have ships.
Yeah.
Right. I would be.
Move
My
it
first
directly to here.
task would be redeploying
yes.
everyone to the front
I
line.
see what you're saying. I got you. I think we can make some sort of amendment there. Okay. I got you.
And then, if we need to send any of our squads to help reinforce those, fine. I don't know what the numbers look like for us to still be able to take at least 10 with us in order that we can have a.
Well, okay, so
You're saying in order for us to deploy to the field, we have to have at least 10. So
Correct.
that would be the command crew plus at least 1 squad of 5. So we're deploying whatever additional troops we have to the front lines to hold, and then we are taking at least 2 squads and ourselves. The player characters straight to the back of the line to engage with the leadership and destroy command and control for the orcs. Because
Rinse
we
and
have
repeat.
Because we have shuttles, they don't.
right. Yeah. No, I got you.
And I'm not playing their trench warfare game.
You don't like my little mini game here?
No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what you've drawn up, but I'm also saying that
You don't want to play the attrition game.
right.
Got you.
If you play the attrition game with orcs, you lose.
Yeah. It's kind of where I was. Like, I wasn't trying to, like, force you into that, but I was also like, this is kind of what it would be like. Like, I definitely went for something of a more long-term or long-range idea of an operation here.
All right.
That
It's
said,
it's trench warfare, boys. Get out the drones and deploy the jammers.
all right, Ukraine would like to know your location. That's meant only as a joke. Please don't go political. So this is what von Mark tells
Ukraine
you.
knows my location.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, actually. Karl von Mark mentions the following information regarding numbers that he has seen. It is entirely likely to expect anywhere between 20 and 40 orcs in any of the frontline settlements. It is expected that the numbers, the further back from the orc front lines, you can expect 2 to 3 times as many, if not more. He believes that the orc strongholders or oh my god, the boss knob, is that the right term for the big guy in charge of all the orcs?
Yeah,
the knob.
If he thinks there's tons of boss knobs back there, we're shooting it with the ship before we go in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so because if I'm not mistaken, from my we all know I'm not that knowledgeable in Warhammer 40K, but you have a bunch of boys then you have a knob that leads those boys, and then you have a boss knob that leads a bunch of knobs that leads a bunch of boys.
There's war
Remember,
bosses.
is that
That's-
that's how it works, more or less,
You can
right?
have a knob who is a war boss depending on the size of the wall.
So he believes that whoever is running this orc family, he wouldn't say family, he would probably say this orc wog, is located back here. Whoops, back here, and you can easily expect between 50 and 100 fighting orcs in that region.
Okay.
In the midline, he would recommend expect probably about 50. The front would be between 20 and 50.
Okay.
Doesn't have
So-
hard numbers, but he can tell. Let me rephrase that. He's basing these numbers on the size of attack and scout parties that he's encountered over the last several weeks. He also feels that currently that the orcs are in a position where, similar to the humans, they have enough to hold what they have, not necessarily enough to push out again, but he's also expecting that to change very soon, knowing how orcs propagate and whatnot. Not literally propagate, but their orc tendencies.
Well, the orc propagation takes years. They typically don't grow new orcs overnight.
Right, but he also is aware that he suspects there could be either additional orcs elsewhere on the planet, or that they were being funneled in into a part of the planet where they weren't. God damn it.
Okay.
Bear with me here. He believes either they come from a different part of the planet that they don't have eyes on, or that they were being brought to that area and then more or less smuggled in to sector or theater, whatever you want to call it.
Well, the
Smuggling orcs.
the ships would indicate they came from off-world.
Yes. And he apologizes he wasn't able to do anything about them, and then points out the window where there's a distinct lack of anti-orbital guns. I'm being smartass about it. He is not. In fact, you can imagine his demeanor being entirely, this is a shitty situation. I've done the best I can. Please forgive me.
Wow.
Doing the best with what you have does not require forgiveness. It requires commendation. You've done well to hold what you have, given that they even had ships in orbit.
As you say, Lord Captain, I fucking totally lost his goddamn accent. I'm sorry, guys.
Stop doing that.
He says, fuck. Damn it. Brain is not braining. I appreciate your words, Lord Captain. I just wish I could have done more. The Governor Tarkin... No, that's not what his name is. God damn it. His name was not Tarkin. I'm 98% sure. Tarson, that's it. Tarson,
I
that
hope
was
he
his
finishes that Death Star soon.
name. He says that...
Hey, at least it'd be on our side.
I specifically requested a Death Star.
He says, I only wish that Tarson were here so that he could stand trial and punishment for his cowardice in the eyes of the orc. Though, and I think there's a brief moment where he's like, I certainly understand one's lack of spine in such a moment, but
I will
really,
need a full report on said activities in case he managed to survive.
I will have he points to a very young-looking man. He could not possibly be more than 19 years old. Yeah, I will have my adjutant get started.
Okay, come on, make him 17 and his voice still breaking. Okay, sir.
Well, we've got enough Morty references around.
We do.
I didn't say here. I said around. One
I
of
wasn't
my
trying to-
other Warhammer game has some strong Morty references going on.
I wasn't trying to make that, but okay.
I did.
Is he on the edge of 17?
Okay. I can't remember her name either, but calm down.
Stevie Nicks.
Thank you. At any rate, that is our current situation, strategically speaking. If there are any other questions, Carl von Marek would be more than happy to answer them and accommodate as best he can.
Well, we've already gotten past the questions, and I'm using our shuttles to logistically move everyone up to reinforce the front lines to hold for our discombobulation of the enemy.
Right. Where is?
You were able to make 6 of those drop pods? I turned to Alterius.
Three.
I thought he said like 5 or 6.
Icarus, you get a ping on whatever passes for the shipboard Wi-Fi system that the Adeptus Mechanicus uses.
Mhm.
Ding, fries are done.
God damn it. You guys are totally derailing me tonight. It's not hard to do, but damn it.
What's the name and password?
Hush you.
What's the password?
Stop, you're not helping.
That's my job.
Oh my god. I love you. Go take a shower.
Aren't kids amazing?
Anyway,
They
Icarus,
are.
you get a ping. There are 5 fully functional, tested, vetted, ready to go on the Lord Captain's command. Assault pods, day faker.
So we're gonna it's a 3-phase operation here. Well, 4-phase. First phase is redeploy all their troops to the front lines and reinforce the front lines heavily. Second phase is bombard the orc encampment to try and reduce the number of orcs as much as possible. And then just prior to our deep strike, our behind the line strike, we're going to split the pods and drop them close to each of the other 2 bases. So I'm going to put some more circles on the map that you can erase at your leisure. If I can figure out how to change colors, let's see. I'm going to make them a different color. So we're going to drop the pods essentially sort of in the direction of the 2 bases here with the hope of drawing orcs off of the central encampment towards where they think the fighting is.
Well, to be clear, keep in mind the distance between one settlement and the next is roughly 1 week's worth of travel, so it's not like
Okay.
a couple
So-
city blocks or whatever. You know what I mean?
Can you erase the 2 red circles? Because essentially what I would have then is I would have fighting outside to attempt to draw orcs within not weeks away, but within at least hours away, so that they are.
Yeah, so you'd be dropping them like. That's not a very good.
Yeah.
You'd be
But-
dropping them like that as you're hitting that spot. That's a really hard to see, but
So bombard, and then after what as much effect as we think we can get from a bombardment has been done, because those do have maximum effectiveness. Then follow it with the drop pods to try and draw as many off. So kill as many as we can, then draw as many off as we can before we make our strike.
Okay.
And if you want to make rolls for that to see how effective those are, that's fine with me.
I had an idea. I mentioned this briefly earlier, and I wanted to shoot this idea at you to represent the battles that the player characters were not participating in. But they, the ones that still had to be fought out in order to get your guys' full accomplishment of clearing the field or whatever. So, take ye old character, like let's say this Acheron Armsman, who has a ballistic score of 40. And there's a squad of 10 of them, and they are attacking a squad of 10 random orcs, right? What if we rolled 10-sided dice, 1 for each of those active members in that squad, and because they have a ballistic score of 40, let's do 10 minus 4 is 6. On a 6+, that trooper connects, and that's that many dead orcs in that opposing squad. Does that make sense?
I think that once the session is started, it's too late to come up with a new gaming system.
However, since you've already posed this, I don't see why we can't just run with it.
We can try, but like I fully expect it to. I'm not sure I expect it to go well.
Well, so to be clear, so imagine 10 of these Acheron armsmen versus 10 orcs.
Hmm.
The initiatives will more or less determine who's going to win the fight, right? So both sides roll initiative, and then first team to shoot shoots. However many hits, that means that many orcs are gone. The remaining number of orcs can fire. Yeah, you see where I'm going. Like, bad rolls could turn the tide just as much as the initiative, at least initially.
You could do this kind of like Risk, where both sides roll and whichever one has a higher
I
number.
see what you're saying. Both sides roll at the same time and not worry about initiative.
Yeah.
That actually might not only just speed it up slightly, but also make a little bit more sense narratively.
And then whatever number you want to call casualties.
Yeah. Well, it would just be like, so that you roll 10 dice and 4 of them hit, 4 members of the opposing team are dead.
Yeah, that works.
Woot.
And to remind you, in case you guys have forgotten, you do have, I know you have your super squads, but you also have something like 2,000 generic armsmen on your ship that you can use for this.
Hmm.
Basically,
Go ahead.
I would be deploying as many as prudent to shore up the front lines and do like I said. I'm the emphasis here is basically take out the command structure of the orcs.
Okay,
and
so
then pick them off from there. That's still
using this map, we'll use the icon or the markers that you guys can't touch for whatever. Can you guys touch the orcs? Can you pick up the orcs?
I mean, if
No.
I've got
Okay.
if I've supposedly got 2,000 armsmen, I could literally flood this map and completely overwhelm the orcs.
Correct. However, again,
Battle over. We don't even have to have a roll.
yeah. However, again, abstract numbers are in play as well. So, fuck, I had a thought and I lost it.
What I'm envisioning is we start here, of course. These guys get ordered to go here. These guys get ordered to go here. No
Mhm.
problem. These guys who are here, we pick up in our ship and drop off here. Okay.
To be clear, I'm sorry, I'm interrupted. Go ahead. Don't listen to me.
Then with the ship and the squad plus us plus whatever else is still in here. I'm assuming we're in some sort of landing ship.
Yeah, you guys have a number of landing ships available based on.
Okay.
I mean,
Well-
now to be clear, most of these landing ships you guys have a gun cutter and then a slew of landing ships. But those landing ships are meant more for like moving things back and forth between orbit and the ground, not specifically combat.
When did we get a gun cutter?
I think we just assumed you guys had one.
That's news to me. It was on my acquisitions list.
Did we not say you had a gun cutter for Magoros? I thought we did.
You did not tell me that. But
I could be wrong too.
You said that we had
I know
a
it came
craft
out.
that was cutter-esque.
Okay.
I believe you said just assume that came with one of the ships, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with the gun cutter from here, I'm envisioning us flying by this orc freebooter here and strafing them.
Okay.
To cut down their numbers. And then from there, going directly to the boss and dropping the 2 pods, which I put circles on here for.
Okay.
And then strafing them as well. And then landing.
well, hear me out. If we now have a gun cutter, would you want to deploy to the field, or would you want to remain as the pilot on the gun cutter to use it to shoot orcs?
You could be a close air support asset.
Yes, I could.
Because before we only had unarmed shuttles. Now we've got a gun cutter to work with.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically what I had said for Magaros, but I thought gun cutter had been mentioned. So, poof, you have a gun cutter. It may not be the
All right.
best piece of equipment you've ever had, but
Do
you have a
you-
gun cutter.
Do you know which PDF the gun cutter's in?
I do
Into
not.
the storm, if I recall correctly.
That's
Yes.
probably where it would be. Because I don't remember gun cutters and small craft like that being listed in the core book.
Man, it's gonna be hilarious when that gun cutter catches a fucking rocket.
Hush.
I probably should have made this clear. This circle all the way in the back where I just put all the character models, that is your current location insofar as relation to all this other shit.
I assumed.
The way I'm understanding the plan is, of course, the back lines move up to support the front lines. There are a couple of distracting efforts, and then the final or the main assault. Are you planning on hitting their front line at the same time, or is that a hold until after the Orks command and control is disrupted?
I thought you were saying we could only attack with one at a time, and I was assuming that one was us.
Theoretically,
attacking
all pieces on the board can move at the same time. The problem becomes, like, for instance, you move somebody from here to here, and they lose. Now nobody's here, and that means this guy here can now flank.
Okay, so to clarify, you said we have 2,000 guardsmen on the ship.
Yes.
How would they compare to the guardsmen that are on the ground?
In what respect? Skill and equipment?
capability? Yeah.
The guys on the ground probably are slightly better because they've been fighting more recently than your armsmen, who have more or less been just pulling guard duty on various parts of your ship. But overall, probably equal, I should say.
And
Equatable.
you said those front posts all have approximately 20 orcs?
20 to 40.
I thought you said the back ones had 40. Or
So
the mid ones.
let me double check my notes just to make sure I'm not fucked up, because I did have a certain element of randomness involved.
Okay.
But not to give you specific numbers, but to give you numbers to work with, you are looking at, for the front lines, anywhere between 20 and 20 to 40 in the front. Effectively double that in the middle line, and then the back section is 75 or so, maybe more.
Okay. Now, you said we have some shuttles. Do we have what, 2, 4, 6, 8?
I honestly don't know. It's never a number I've given much thought to. Let's
assume we have 6 additional shuttles dedicated to this operation.
Yeah, I think
would-
I think you would have enough to be able to deploy 3 platoons, and each platoon being like 5 squads.
Well, the gun cutter, so long as we don't have anything else on it, should accompany our specialist squads plus us.
Sure.
Because gun cutters are larger.
Yeah. Does that
The other thing is we can drop 2 squads here, 2 squads here.
Well, I was going to simply say, instead of having those squads move forward in advance, I think I would like to have them hold. But what I'm saying is, if we have 6 squads, I want to task 2 shuttles to each, and assume that if each shuttle can carry a squad or 2 squads, that we deploy 6 additional squads to each of those front lines, so that we're looking at
so you have like a 3-to-1 outnumbering thing going on?
at the very least.
Yeah.
Even if we deployed 100 additional soldiers to each point, I'm not depleting the ship's guardsmen.
No,
But
because
I
that would
am
be like
significant-
600 people out of the 2,000 that you have.
Right. But I would be significantly outnumbering. Wait, how is 100 to each point?
There's 6 points
600.
on the map. that
Okay,
you-
when
that-
I meant the front 3 points.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, yeah.
If I
300.
right. 300 of the 2,000 guardsmen on board the ship. Does leave them a bit on a skeleton crew, but I have tried to keep everyone relatively happy and on good morale, so riots should not be the first thing on my ship's mind.
And it still leaves you plenty of numbers of ship's troops to replace losses.
Mm-hmm.
So, oops.
So once they would have about 100 troops each, then I would consider, like, however long that would take, then I would potentially consider forward on all fronts while we are doing the deep strike.
Yes.
So I think what we get over the next couple of days on the planet is all of this being set up. Planning, multiple planning sessions with Karl von Meinrich, coordination with his forces.
Logistics.
There's ships bringing troops down and troops getting prepped, geared up, ready to go. I think the first thing we need to figure out.
Hooray, mass fire.
I'm sorry, what?
Mass fire tactics is basically what our front lines are going to be doing.
Yeah. So,
Old school.
let's get a roll. I think the first big action was no, you wanted to do the flyover strafe of these guys here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's the first thing.
Do we need to
So,
look at the weapons for the gun cutter for you to see like what you would consider to be effective?
I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a piloting skill check. And because it's a combat scenario, you're trying to evade incoming fire as well. Let's make it piloting -10.
Hold on a second. Rogue Trader. There is the gun cutter in its stats.
Oh, did you dump it in? Did you put that
Current
in Zoom
shows
or did
in
you put it in
cast.
Discord?
Discord.
Okay, I'll take a look at it later.
I can put it in Zoom too.
Well, my problem is actually here, let me just do this, and then I can do this, and then I can do.
My PDF editor seems to be missing. That is interesting.
Just use a browser.
No.
Well, make it
Gross.
more difficult on yourself.
All right, so here's what we'll do. We'll do a piloting skill check to, from a narrative standpoint, kind of get, that you fly over the right area, but it's obviously it's a bit more complicated than just that. Flying over the right area in such a way that you can deliver the most effective lines of fire onto the target and catch them in the open, things of that nature. So there'll be a piloting roll for that, and then there'll be a ballistic skill test to see how effective that overall fire is. And based on the number of successes, a certain number of potential enemies, orcs, in that location will be reduced.
Okay.
Nope. This one. That looks like one.
Gun cutter go. Brrr.
Gun cutter do oh my god, warthog things. I don't know why I couldn't fucking say that.
So we can fit 3 carrying capacity is, aside from the crew, quarters for 6 people and maximum for 30 or equivalent cargo.
I was not listening because I was trying to figure something else out. One more time.
We can fit 30 troops on the ship.
In addition to us.
Okay. So 3 squads plus your command crew. Personnel.
Yes, which I have at the home.
Yep.
Right now. And then Why is their weapon skill higher than their ballistic skill?
For who?
The Acheron armsmen.
Hmm.
I don't
Anyway.
have an answer for that. I really don't.
I mean, we've been training them in ranged combat, so
Their weapon
But
skill,
anyway.
their BS may have been like 30 or 35 previously, and it's gotten up to 40 since. I don't know if I did anything with their weapon skill. I honestly
Okay.
don't remember. Anyway, for you, it'll be piloting -10 to make sure, basically, to position your gun cutter appropriately, effectively over that middle line or that middle sector.
Do we have the back bay of the gun cutter opening with several
That would be
several of the
hilarious,
arms?
but I'm gonna think that you guys are kind of doing this because you described this as a flyby shooting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume that if you did it, you would literally get about half a dozen rounds a person worth of possibilities. So just no,
I'm
because
just
you're gonna be. I
picturing
feel
like
like you'd be
I'm
screaming
picturing
by.
I'm picturing
There-
a couple of guys hanging out the back with their double stubbers just blazing.
Yeah. Doop, 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 doop. I think I got one.
Why do our armsmen sound like orcs?
I don't know.
That wasn't really orky. That was more of a ogre.
the weapons on the gun cutter are 2 pilot-operated long-barreled autocannons, so that's me, and then 2 gunner-operated twin-linked heavy bolters.
I'm just gonna give you a single ballistics roll as an abstract
Okay.
for the whole crew of that gun cutter.
What do you mean? What do you mean, Kit? Come on now, let me be on one of the.
Okay, fine.
heavy-
I'm gonna change the margin of success, or the margin of successes equaling how many dead orcs, though. But whatever.
Okay, I just.
You wanted to, it's okay. You wanted to make a roll. I got you.
I can be on one of the heavy bolters, and I assume that.
Well, I
Um,
also assume it would actually be one of your ship's crew, not your command crew, doing that. But whatever.
Well,
As they're the
Well-
gun cutter pilot sitting back on the Acheron's ferry, sipping a cup of coffee. Damn it! It was supposed to be my turn to shine, but no, master of the pilot thing needed to fucking get this fucking combat pay.
well, he's on the we have Jace on the autocannons. I am on one of the bolter turrets.
Okay, so that what I'm
And-
hearing is there's a gun cutter pilot and a gun cutter gunner chief back on the ship going, motherfucker, those fucking combat pay seeking motherfuckers.
Well, actually, given that the gun cutter is essentially sort of like the in the Rogue Trader setting, it's essentially the command crews.
Yeah. I'm
Millennium
being
Falcon?
facetious here, so
We are the gun cutter crew.
no, I know. I feel like you
But
probably
Reinhardt, I'm assuming that you would like to man a heavy bolter as we shoot orcs.
I'm perfectly fine to man a heavy bolter. Yes.
all right. Give me that piloting -10, please.
All right.
As you're
One
evading
second.
lots and lots of orc-inspired DACA coming back at you as you fly overhead.
This would be pilot flyers or pilot spacecraft.
This would be flyers.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
gonna
it
make.
doesn't
I'm
matter.
gonna.
I've
I'm
got a
making that
+10
call simply
either
because.
way.
I'm making that call simply because you're in atmosphere in this case.
Right. And that's agility. So 55, 65, 55. Didn't I have bonuses from something?
Maybe. What are your items? What are your
That's what I'm looking at.
You have for piloting. I think you had like a piloting +10 something, but it's on the ship, not necessarily the gun cutter. Because it's like the. I
Yeah,
would call it
but
like
basically a book.
Yeah, it's like the pilot's almanac, but I feel like it's more like, for lack of a better way to phrase it, equipped to the spaceship and not on the gun cutter.
Why wouldn't I bring it with me?
Because it's equipped to the spaceship? I don't know, man. We never clarified that shit before.
It's my equipment.
Fine.
It should be
cancel out the
on your
-10.
character sheet.
What's that?
It should be on your character sheet if you've got it.
It is.
Yeah, I do.
It's like a pilot's almanac or some shit.
Almanac Astrea Divinitas.
I thought that was for the warp travel.
No.
Well, there's the-
it's for the warp travel as well.
not to be that guy. I apologize, but I thought the Astronaut Divinitas thing was a very large mechanical system that might be this is up to Omar, but that might be kind of hard for you to move between the ship and the gun cutter.
What is
Okay.
That's in. Was that in the Into the Storm?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a big whirling array of mechanisms and calculatings and holograms and things, and the end result is that it helps with piloting and navigation.
Okay. So I don't get that plus 10 then.
sorry.
It's okay.
Now, if you get a second one and equip it to the gun cutter,
Right.
because that would be the big brain gamer move. I'm getting a second one of those.
Well, the bigger brain game move would be to get a machine interface unit that gives him a plus 20 to piloting and just plug into the gun cutter.
And then you get a pilot who's only trained in piloting to be your cyber pilot.
No, they're disconnectable.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
We could get AI to pilot the ship.
No,
for
no,
us.
stop it. Stop it. First off, that would be wrong in this setting
I
and
know.
in my life.
Full
Okay,
self-supply needs to be
so-
managed.
55, 65, 55. So I need a 55.
You can fake point it preemptively if you want.
I can fate point it, and I can also ask the Lord Captain if he is giving me a plus 10 or not.
For this distraction phase, you have one plus 10 command option thingy. So anything between now and when you put your your command crew's boots on the ground, you have one option of when to use it. There's a few more rolls coming.
Okay.
So it's up to the rogue trader.
I
Well,
don't.
do you want to give it to me now or wait until later to give it to me or someone else?
Later.
Okay. 55.
55. Here we go. 63. You want to fate point that?
Yep.
Okay. $73. All right.
Fuck.
So you now can do your normal ballistic skill challenge, but because of inaccuracy in movement, the ballistic skill test will also be at a minus 10. However, it's gonna be Reinhardt, so that really just made it like a 95.
Yeah.
You know, I did make a character that's good at shooting things.
I know.
But
Yes.
it is a heavy bolter, and I don't get a certain bonus for that
Oh, so
because it's not basic.
I'm not gonna keep making jokes
but
about
it's
your...
still good.
Yeah.
I was assuming this is going to be like since it's a turret system. I was assuming this was going to be like the guns on the ship. It's not that you don't have a talent for giant, massive ship guns. It's simply using your gunnery ability, your gun skill.
Yeah,
It's your
my ballistic
intrinsic
skill.
gunnery skill, not any additional things
Yeah.
other than
Right.
plug and play or whatever. So yeah, ballistic skill minus 10, please.
Okay. So my ballistic skill is 69.
Nice.
Nice.
So 59, unless you're putting a fate point on it.
I'm gonna say that'll work.
That's 2 degrees of success. All right. I'm not going to tell you the effects of that, but you do see a number of orcs taking some very large gun shell bullets to the face.
It's
and whatnot.
a heavy bolter.
Yeah.
Assuming that
There's definitely
some
orc flavored
major
debris.
rapid fire charnel house stuff going on.
Yep. There is orc flavored debris about. I will say that much.
The guns did in fact go bird.
Yep. And then Rev, what's this roll for, Rev?
That's my gunnery roll from my.
Oh, okay. There are now several more orc flavored debris bits on the ground.
What was Rev, what was your target number?
It would have been multiple degrees of success. I am currently having difficulty finding due to moving a bunch of files around and reinstalling Windows again. I'm having trouble finding my most recent character sheet. So I know that I had several advances above this. I want to say that my ballistic skill was at least 50 from looking at what it was on this older sheet.
I have a number assigned to the surviving number of orcs. We can move on.
Okay.
I believe our next roll is the let's drop loud, boomy, bangy, screamy bits.
The distraction, the orc nip.
The orc nib. Okay.
No.
No.
I get to roll
I stand corrected.
my gunnery.
Yeah.
Yes, your
More
gunnery.
guns.
Yes, more DACA.
Mordaka. This I will spend a fate point on to negate the 10%,
Okay.
giving me a 45.
All right. That is 2 degrees of success.
All right.
That takes us to a new final number for that particular group of orcs. All right. Our next roll is the ship's lasers, or whatever it is, firing on the orc boss base compound facility. Let me see what my... Oh, I know what my notes are. Okay. Okay. This will also be a straight up ballistic skill test. Unless the book says... I'm not going to look it up. We'll just go with straight ballistics on whoever's... Who's in charge of the gunnery for the ship's crew? Or are we going with a flat 35?
Wait, gunnery for the ship's crew? What?
The ship is firing on the orbital strike, right?
Oh, well, I would assume that the most competent person to handle the guns would be the new seneschal.
So, I mean, that's a possibility. Let me see what his
And if the seneschal doesn't feel like he would be the best at it, have him delegate to whomever he feel would have the highest gunnery skill.
Well, it looks like the seneschal is receiving your commands to open fire and points to the acting gunner master of guns saying fire. Your target number is 35. Unless you have a named person to be your ship's master of guns when Reinhardt's not on.
That's Reinhardt's department, who he has subordinate to him.
I don't think he has anybody else, to be honest.
I'm trying to figure out how the only PDF I have is months old and not the current one.
Yeah, the problem comes up. I don't think you can just dictate like, yeah, that one guy with the 50 gunnery. Or whatever.
Yeah, we have that loner that we normally don't call on. He's got 80 gunnery, I swear.
Yeah.
Yes, that
I'm
that
sure.
one guy who
That
is
one
even
guy.
more proficient than your master of arms. Mhm.
All right, somebody give me that 35 roll. However, actually, you know what? Here, I'll give you this. If one of you can make a scrutiny challenging, I will allow you to add a bonus relative to the degrees of success, as this would be a forward observer type sort of thing.
I have a 61 target.
All right, go for it.
Does anybody have anything better?
Probably not.
No.
All right.
The-
For what?
I was gonna
Scrutiny.
clarify.
Scrutiny test in order to do forward observer. Success on this will effectively increase the gunnery skill for the ship.
Nah, it's perception. That's not my.
That's
Yeah,
not you.
I'm not helping with that much.
I have a 45, which isn't bad. It's just not.
Would you
my
like to fate point that? At 68 on a 61?
No, that's not worth it.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get that 35 gunnery roll.
Can I press the button?
I'm gonna before you press it, I'm going to warn you, so you can change your mind if you would like. You're rolling against a 35. On 4 degrees of failure or more, you are going to miss, and you are going to hit somebody else on this map.
Can I give the roll a fate point to make it
You
45?
certainly can. You certainly can.
Yeah, that's never 4 degrees. Nah, not gonna happen. Ooh, right on target.
Right on the fucking target. All right.
Damn.
It hits. Unfortunately,
if
it's
this was
0 degree.
Pendragon, that would have been a critical.
What was that, Rev?
If this is Pendragon, that would
I
have
was
been a
thinking this.
critical.
I was thinking the same goddamn thing. I will do a reduction in the force that you will be facing there.
Hi.
I'm not going to tell you how much, of course.
I feel the
I'm
force.
just imagining like
reducing.
one orc out in the woods just
It's obliterated.
You know how the a lot of times you'll see like in media the laser starts thin and widens out to this big beam. It's just like and go like orc gone.
It's the it's the Helldivers Butterbeam.
Can you roll to see if we hit the orc war boss? Like I don't care if it's like a 2 out of 100.
Oh, if you want to see if we actually hit that guy?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
set-
I'm not going to
set
tell you what you need to roll, but go ahead and make a roll and I'll tell you. Listen, I'm not bullshitting you. I have a number in my head.
Okay.
It is a specific number, not 0 or 100. It was not that number. It was 69, of course.
Nice.
Of course.
Okay, so laser bombardment hits. It appears to do lots of calamitous amounts of damage. The effect it has on the number of orcs you're facing, of course, remains unknown. I will remind you that the orcs have been observed with subterranean accesses. You
Yep.
may now deploy, I believe it was called Orc Nip.
Orc nip.
So how do we deploy said orc? No.
Well, let's start with another. Are they being deployed from orbit?
I would assume so, since they're drop pods.
Okay. I will give you. It'll be
boarding pods.
ballistic plus 10. Because you already have the data for where you want them to go. You've got observers on the ground, etc., etc., etc. They have a bit more of a controlled descent. Hold on. Didn't want you to roll that yet.
Well,
That's
I
okay.
did, and I got a 12.
That's fine. So 45, that's 3 degrees of success. That's going to do certain amounts of changes of the number. Go ahead and make another 1d100 roll. I am going to have a specific number in mind.
The orc war boss gets distracted.
Yeah.
What is it? 420.
No, it's
Well, the number I was
obviously
looking for
69
was a
again.
15.
Oh.
So unfortunately, the orc boss is busy corralling his people together, and the ones that he doesn't corral, they didn't hear him because all they heard was the din of battle over yonder hill.
Hmm.
Now watch me not get anything below a 50 for the rest of this when I'm actually on the ground fighting.
All right. So our next scene will be the boss battle.
Yep.
We're going to end a little bit early.
Oh,
Fair enough.
That way I can have the battle completely set up as opposed to trying to get it all set up now and then running out of time.
Well, it looks like, thanks to computer technical issues, I'm going to have to completely rebuild my character.
Good luck.
So,
I don't know what to tell you.
so Alturios, if you could send me your total XP at the end of this session, that we should have the same total XPs, I believe.
Should.
Before we close, Reinhardt, you have Common Lore, War, Imperium, something like that. Am I right?
I do indeed.
Rev,
I
do you
have
Rev, do you
Common
have-
Lore War and Imperial Guard, and I have Scholastic Lore Tactica Imperialis.
I have
Excellent.
Lore Xenos, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you had anything related to war in general. Reinhardt.
I
Yar.
also have Common Lore War, Imperial Navy.
Unfortunately, that won't apply. This is strictly ground-based in relation to your current situation. Reinhardt, go ahead and give
War?
me that Tactica Imperialis.
Okay.
I'll give you plus 10 on it.
Sweet. I'm rolling for a 51 or less, so I'm going to start with a fate point
So
to make that a
60
61 or less.
Okay. Would you like to fate point
And I
that?
am indeed going to fate point that, but I'm going to wait a little bit because we know that the random number generator
it
hates it when I press the button immediately after.
it gets warmed up super fast, and you have to give it a moment to cool down before rolling again.
That's
Sorry,
right.
I think I burned out the good numbers.
You may have with those really low numbers.
We'll about
there.
find out now, won't we?
Oof.
No.
That is worse than before.
Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, your efforts thus far do not give your troops on the front lines any sort of bonus. That said,
Okay.
they're
Why-
not getting
why
any
would-
sort of. Well, I'll explain in a moment. They, at the same time, they're not going to receive any penalties.
Hooray,
What I
not
was looking
penalties.
for and hoping that with Reinhardt getting a good war tactical, whatever the hell it was that because of this flanking thing, that some of the orcs might be somewhat distracted or confused as to where the real effort in the attack is. Unfortunately, the net result is none.
The
Orcs
net
are just happy-
result is the orc's natural ability to find the best fight is correct.
Yes,
Well,
and that their best fight
actually-
is right in front of them.
The one directing the fight would actually be the seneschal or the Erstat's governor.
My justification for that would be Reinhardt's military experience and expertise would have lent that through planning practices.
Fair enough.
Darius has something.
Yes. Why would war not apply?
Is your role? I feel like your role is more based in space. Am I crazy? Am I wrong?
No. War itself is
war.
a common
Ooh.
knowledge.
Okay, common war, but it's going to be at a -10.
Okay.
The
I will
intent
spend a
again.
fate
The
point
intent
to
here is that
negate
your war experience and expertise. You're trying to convey this to the troops on the ground in order to elicit a bonus for when they make their attack, i.e.,
Right.
launching their attack at the precise correct moment to get the best effect.
I'm sorry, lore, war. What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing, but only in my
That
case.
sounds like 24. What was your target? -10.
46. So that's 2 degrees of success.
Okay. I will make note that the frontline troops have some sort of bonus. I don't know exactly what yet, but I will give them something when the time
I
comes.
give them all combat stims on our way out.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that would be a lot of stims. I don't think I'm that rich.
Well,
30
you're
stems.
a rogue trader. It's not a matter of whether or not you can purchase it. It's a matter of whether or not it's available.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'm saying like 320 combat stims, yeah, or 360, I think.
330.
Well, if you think of 2 squads, if you assume, and I don't know what size those numbers are, but the troops that the planet had plus ours all getting stemmed is what I was joking.
Oh, the ones that the planet had to?
yes.
I think what I'm going to do for that
Oof.
is that maybe for the troops, the planet's troops is going to be 2 squads, and then however many squads you guys are dedicating to each frontline settlement. So like basically what you see on the table is the 6 armsmen, and then the however many 50 squads of whatever for your Acheron armsmen.
Okay,
Well-
don't forget to save the table.
It's not a bad idea, actually, because if nothing else, I'm going to need this for reference. Because when we come back next week, we probably won't be on this table. But that's because of what I intend for the fight. I want to save this.
I wish there
for-
was a thing where you could do like the old map style planning arrows for like invasion pushes.
I mean, you could draw arrows.
Yes, but not that artistically.
No, I mean, listen, it's
Stylistically.
not good. It like
No, I'm talking about the like that, but with a little bit broader, like
Yeah.
a little more stylized.
yeah.
The offensive pushes that you see on the old school maps.
Yeah, or like in animations for in movies and whatnot. Yeah, no, I know.
Or
I
like
get what
people
you're talking
used
about.
to do for football.
Yep, that too.
A little bit.
All right.
nicer
All
than-
players take 200 experience points for completing the session.
200.
200. I'm going to update my NPCs as well.
But I shot orcs. I should get combat bonus of 50.
No, that's not how this works. Take your 200 and be happy. You didn't. You
No,
didn't.
stay for you.
You
Come
may
back
have.
in
You
one
may have
session.
killed some orcs, but you did not kill all of the orcs or complete the objectives.
Well, I was gonna say, all right. So when we finish this, if I have not killed every single orc, I'm gonna say, no, Omar, I can't get that extra 50 XP. I didn't kill all of the orcs.
Listen, I will say this: it will be implied. Assuming you guys win this war, it will be implied that all the orcs are dead. You won't have to worry about. I'm not going to be that guy who's like, oh, but 6 years later, one little spore, and now there's a little orc family.
Well, basically, once the battle is done, I'm basically finding as many flamethrowers as we have on board the ship, issuing them to all my troops, and we are sterilizing anywhere the orcs were in concentration.
The
Do we have flames?
countryside.
What'd you say,
I would hope so.
Alterios?
First, if you do want to just not give Rev as much XP, I'm fine with that.
Fair. Fair. Totally fair.
Second, do we have flamers?
You know, the cool thing about having a chief fabricator, you could make them, a la the original Alien movie.
We may not
So if-
have like nice flamers in our possession, but I'm assuming if we have 2,000 guardsmen, that there are some flame weapons in their rank and file somewhere on board the ship.
There's probably, it would be safe to say that somewhere in the TO&E of your ship's troops complement, there's probably a handful of flamers. You guys
At the
have
very- at the
regular
very-
like rat catchers. And
I was gonna say there's a rat catch. There's
Yeah.
a rat catcher that's supposed to be clearing like rats and mutants, and they at the very least would have
some sort of flame throwing device. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I believe it's called a twist catch. I could be wrong.
Yes.
Um,
A twist catcher.
that's
Is that your total XP,
Yeah.
Alterius? I feel like I thought mine was slightly higher than that, but I could be remembering.
I think
just
all
for
of you
verification-
guys should be on about the same number, except for Darius, who missed like the very first.
That's what I was
session
gonna
or some
say.
shit.
I was gonna ask, just for like data verification, Warner, could you send me your total XP including tonight's?
Sure. It's 11,300.
Navigator
That's what
has.
that's what I was thinking. It was higher.
What do you have?
Alterios
Ooh.
only has 10,350. I think he sent me.
Yeah, that's almost a full 1,000 shy.
That's what I was thinking.
What are you guys at? Around
That's
11,000?
more than 1,000. That's more than 1,000 shy because I've got 11,350.
I've only got 11,300. So somewhere along the way, our maths did not add up.
Huh.
Well, I know I'm anal retentive about that sort of thing, so
Yes, I can verify this because after every session, he sends me the things he spent his XP on,
yeah.
and he literally gets a
And how
thumbs up
much I
response
have
from me.
and how much I have banked.
Yeah, he's been keeping pretty close track. I have not been checking any of his math, but he's been keeping track of it.
Well, the only times I haven't kept good track of my numbers is when my data gets deleted.
All right, feedback, outro, and comments. Let's start with Rev while he's distracted with math and numbers.
Yeah, so figuring out that I was like, because initially I'm thinking, are we limited to this amount of troops? Because this seems like a set up to fail situation. I'm like, no, I'm putting 300 additional troops on the ground and one-siding this engagement entirely.
I intended for it to be a bit of a struggle challenge. Your strategic side of this, you have one-sided it hard in your favor. But I think the way I set it up, I kind of anticipated that because I knew you had a 2,000 ship's troops, and I know roughly how many orcs you're facing, or at least a number range. And strategically, it wasn't going to look good. Where the problem might break down and become a real challenge for you guys would have been in the tactical side of things. despite the numbers. So because orcs
Right, well-
being orcs.
Well, in a game of Risk, I've seen someone who's outnumbered the other side 3-1 still lose.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
like,
We've
that-
all
Yeah.
we've all played that guy.
Yeah.
We've all been
It
that guy.
can happen.
Listen, even if you start in Australia and just build up army after army and send them into fucking Southeast Asia, guess what could still happen?
bad dice rolls.
Bad dice rolls.
Long, long ago, when I was in high school, my best friend and I played in a game of Risk where one person in the Ural Mountains defeated an army of, I think it was 30 coming in
Oh my god.
because the defender just kept rolling sixes over and over and over.
I bet that had to be an
over.
epic night for that guy.
And so we said Earl has a shotgun because the Ural Mountains got simplified to Earl.
Did you replace his dice afterwards?
Did
He
you
was
check
rolling
it?
the same dice as the rest of us. They were the dice that were in the box.
Okay.
My personal favorite scenario in
Sometimes
Risk.
things go off of the bell curve probability wise.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I think one of my favorite moments in excuse me. I think one of my favorite scenarios in Risk is getting that massive army, pushing out, conquering everything until you're like 1 or 2 territories shy of like a full continent or a massive amount of the map. And then in the very next turn, they get a massive army and they just come in and wipe you back out, push you right back to where you started. And you're just like, okay, well that was some bullshit, but also that's how this game runs, so
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Darius?
original Risk is not terribly well
Yeah.
balanced.
yeah. Risk is fun though, but man,
It
you
is.
really have to think ahead in plan
You
for
also
that.
have to have a full day free.
Yeah, you need several hours for that easily. Yeah. Darius, any feedback, outro comments?
I like how you set it up.
Thank you.
Sorry if I ruined it.
You didn't ruin it. You definitely threw out some
No.
shit that I listen. I put this together, and I think I especially with the orbital bombardment, I have in my notes basically don't let Rev easy button this with our orbital strikes. I literally put it in like I need to come up with reasons why he can't do it, why it won't work, right? Because I knew, oh, we've got 1 million orcs on a planet. We just glass the planet and move the fuck on. No, that's not how you're gonna win this. You're gonna fucking fight this on the ground. Damn it.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Glass. If we need the resources, we don't necessarily need the people. People are replaceable. Glass the planet and bring in new people.
Yeah, but people are also a resource, and I don't care what the Grim Dark Empire says. The Administratum might have something to say
To
with
be,
that.
to be fair, Reinhardt also actually kind of cares about people.
So, no, I appreciate that though. But yeah, I had to be careful with setting it up and not allowing Rev to easy button his way through it. So he
I
kind of got me a
resent that.
little bit, but I think we're still on a decent track. Anything else, Darius?
No.
Alturios.
Other
Oh, sorry.
than I'm going to send you my XP spending here in about 5 seconds.
And this is what you're going to get in response. You know that, right?
Yes. The thumbs up sign.
That or you get either that or bet.
I like the map. I like the war map thing you got going.
I appreciate
I
that.
didn't expect that in this game.
Oh, real talk. That is from Google Earth, somewhere vicinity Serengeti Plains. That
Neato.
background image.
But yeah, I wasn't expecting a war game in a Warhammer game.
Subversion.
I was honestly at some point expecting some kind of war game, but I was expecting something more like some games existing rule set lifted and dropped into place.
I'd rather make something relatively what I initially think will be simple and easy, and then later it becomes more complicated than I meant for it to be, and I spend 2 sessions explaining all the rules, and then accused of changing the rules multiple times.
All of the rules must change.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if the rules aren't being updated for new scenarios or new situations or what have you, is it really a living, breathing game? That said, thank you, Alterios. I definitely did try to put something good together and something. It was meant to be fairly easy, as far as setting up and implicating or executing. So, yeah, it was meant to be a little bit different. The trick was going to be if you guys ended up doing a bunch of like ground fighting, how do I keep it varied so it doesn't become boring and repetitive? Because theoretically, you could be fighting, much like Risk, you could be fighting over each of those nodes multiple times.
Yeah.
Trench warfare.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else, Alterios?
No, that was it. That was
Warner?
that stuff.
Warner, what do you got for us?
I had fun tonight. I will admit that tonight was built in a way where I was like, I don't know exactly how Reinhardt would interact with this. Because people are making military plans. I'm like, how delusional is he? Like, does he think he's a good tactician, or is he only going to speak up when he thinks he can actually uh, give something of value? And I figure, no, having fought enough, he has probably a more sober understanding of his tactical abilities, and he understands that he's good at pulling the trigger better than looking at the map and moving people on it.
You know what could have been interesting, and I'm not. This is not like a judgmental disparagement or anything like that. What might have been an interesting side to the story is Reinhardt thinking he knows what he's doing, moving pieces around on a map, but once the fighting starts, realizing very quickly, I'm out of my element here. Like you know what I'm saying? Like from a narrative standpoint, acting like a general and finding out he's no better than being a lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think that would be an interesting story, but also I can't push that, and I didn't think about it until now. And then obviously you've already made your choice, so we're gonna roll with
Yeah,
what we got.
I
But
figure that Reinhardt thinks of himself as like a master sergeant at best.
okay,
He's a button man.
somebody's got to push the button though. Somebody's got to pull the trigger. Not everybody can sit up at the top.
Omar,
Yeah.
a button man is somebody that kills people for the mob.
Okay. I think my statement still stands.
Okay.
Especially in the context of talking about where does Reinhardt see himself and where is he best suited to be in this sort of scenario. And yeah, right there on the front line, defending his Lord Captain. That might be the best place for him.
things with guns.
Shooting big green things with big guns.
It's called troubleshooting because I see trouble and I shoot at it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Any other feedback, outro comments from anybody? All right. I'm going to take that as we're done here. Well, thanks, friends. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the show. I realized this one was a little bit short and maybe a little light on content, but there was a lot going on that was easier to describe out of character than it would have been to explain in character. And so once that got out, of course, we had to do the brainstorm session of how do we tackle this problem. And I think we have an interesting plan, and I've got some things to figure out for the next phase, which will be, of course, our big fight against the boss settlement, and then resolving the rest of the ground warfare, which may take another session or two. We may not be able to complete this entire operation in one session or two sessions, but we'll see how that turns out. It'll be an interesting story, I think. I think we're in a good spot for some good ground combat stuff and some nice little abstract resolution in order to drive the story forward.
I pull the reactor, or I have the reactor removed from the other ship and just drop it on the orcs.
Oh.
No, Rev. No.
You've heard of rods from God. How about big ship?
On that note, stay safe out there, my friends. This world is a grim, dark world, so make sure you're doing what you got to do to take care of you and yours. As for me and mine, we're getting out of here before Rev breaks something else. Have a good one. See you next time.
Aus Wiedersehen.